Let me just say from the very beginning that I had no idea that I needed this camera, the Fujifilm X100F. Now, why did I pick up this camera? I've always shot with either Canon or Sony, or even dabbled a little bit with Panasonic. I've never actually picked up a Fujifilm. So why did I pick this one up? Well, somebody within my circle recommended me picking one of these up and just checking it out. They had just recently purchased the Fujifilm X100V, which is a slight step up from this one. And they just said it's a camera worth dabbling with. And honestly, at the time, I was looking just for kind of a good daily camera, something that wasn't big and bulky, something I could just capture my family with, something I could throw in a bag on any kind of trip or any kind of travels. Something that would be reliable and I wouldn't be sacrificing quality, but also something that was just an incredible size. I mean, look at the size of this camera. And that's what's become my favorite part about this X100F is the size of the camera. It is the perfect size camera for throwing in any bag. It's the perfect size camera for traveling. My family and I just road tripped all the way up to Maine. We stopped in New York City and Washington, D.C., and I primarily use this camera the entire time. And the reason why, it's so easy to pull out. It's so easy to just strap on. It's so easy to, even if you needed to, just to throw it in your pocket. I've done that several times. It's just so easy to grab. And that's the big thing. When you're traveling, you don't want to always have a massive camera like this, my Canon R5. It's just a massive setup. And yes, you can make it smaller by taking the battery grip off, using a smaller lens. But it's just, if it's big, it's just not something you want to pull out every single time and use. And that's the difference with the Fujifilm. You love to pull out and snap photos, and it's just so discreet. Now let's talk a little bit about the specs. And here's the thing is you're not really sacrificing quality. Yes, the Canon R5 that I have is a 45 megapixel camera, but just for any kind of daily photos or traveling, I mean, do you honestly need 45 megapixels? Unless you're getting hired to travel and that's what you need to use. Just for something to capture moments with, 24 megapixels totally gets the job done. It also has a fixed 35 millimeter lens, which is not a problem with me. Honestly, again, that's what makes part of it fun and challenging and exciting and easy to use, is that it just has a fixed lens. So whenever you go to travel, whenever you go to pick up the camera, you're not wondering, do I need a 50 millimeter on here? Do I need an 85 millimeter? Do I need my 24 to 70 millimeter? You're not wondering and worrying about the different types of lenses that you should be bringing with it. You just have a fixed 35 millimeter, and I really enjoy a 35. I think that's a great focal length, especially for travel. You're able to get those landscape shots, you're able to get portrait shots, and this even has some macro abilities, so you can get pretty tight on a subject. I'll put a photo on here. I was able to get pretty close on this bee and this flower. And yeah, it's not going to be as sharp as my Canon R5. I mean, come on, this thing is so sharp. But that's kind of the neat thing about this camera. It's got a different flavor. It's got a different profile to it. It's a little bit softer in some areas. It's soft on the skin tones. It has film emulations. It looks more kind of like a film camera than it does your really nice, neat Canon R5 or something else like that. And that's what makes this camera even more fun for me, especially when I'm traveling, is it has more of a unique flavor, more of a unique profile, something that I don't get out of my other cameras. Now, it is a 5-year-old camera. It was released in 2017, and I just looked on Fujifilm's website, and I think they just discontinued it, so you have to pick it up used, but honestly, I'd recommend picking it up used anyways. There's several out there. I picked mine up on mpb.com. Again, I think I only paid $900 for it at the time. There's several floating around, some in the $1,200 range and some as cheap as $600 if it's been heavily used. And yes, since it is 5 years old, the autofocus isn't going to be as fast as like the R5 or the R6 or a Sony equivalent. It's not going to be as snappy, but I found that the autofocus honestly is good enough. It's pretty good. I'm able to track things well. I'm able to track my kids. The only time that I have difficulty with the autofocus is with my kids running around. I mean, and that can be difficult with any camera that you're using. And I find that the continuous autofocus is not able to keep up with a moving object. But outside of that, honestly, the autofocus is really good. It has facial recognition, so you're still able to get the facial recognition that you need for portraits and anything like that. And of course, landscapes. It works great with landscapes, and the autofocus is quick. and I'm able to capture what I want to capture. So yeah, to wrap it all up, this is the little camera that I didn't know that I needed. This is the little camera that now I love to throw in any bag. I love to just strap it on. It's so lightweight, it's so versatile. I don't have to think, and yet I'm still able to capture images that I'm really proud of. I'm able to capture images that are just beautiful and that I enjoy, that my family enjoys. It's just a camera that's fun to bring out, and it's a camera that, quite honestly, it inspires me. And that's just something within photography that is pretty special. There's just times where my Canon R5 is just too good that it doesn't inspire me. And that's what's neat about this X100F, is that it's got its imperfections. It's not an R5, and that's why I enjoy the X100F. It is what it is. It comes in this tiny, small little package, and this is what you get, and this is what you get to work with. But I find myself actually capturing more photos. I find myself documenting days more than I would with the R5. I find myself using it more when I'm traveling because it is such a small profile. It can fit anywhere, and it's not heavy on my shoulder or on a strap or anything like that. I find that just having this little camera, it's almost like taking your iPhone with you, except you have raw capabilities and you just have these beautiful film emulations. It's like it's like a tremendous step up from using your iPhone, but you're not having to take this massive piece of gear with you. And I love that. That's amazing. So yes, this little X100F is the camera that I didn't know I needed, but now that I have it, I'm so incredibly grateful for this thing, and I'm so much more inspired to take photos on a regular basis. And I think we need some more inspiration like that when we're just trying to document our days. So yeah, you should definitely check out something like the Fujifilm X100F or the X100V. Test out a new camera that will challenge you and inspire you in new ways. And trust me, I think you're really going to like it.